Welcome back for another edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Christian Koropakis, I'm Ellie French, and lots of exciting things happening in the world of Penn State sports. Am I right, Christian?
Absolutely, Ellie. But before we get into that, our experts will update you on the madness surrounding the first two rounds of March Madness, catch you up to speed on what the heck is going on in the NFL regarding trades and free agency, and, oh yeah, a little football action with some Champions League coverage. But first, Ellie, what's happening with Penn State sports?
Well, Christian, I'm glad you asked because men's hockey headed to the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row this Saturday. And after losing to the Big Ten champion Notre Dame in the semifinals of this year's Big Ten tournament, the Nittany Lions could breathe a sigh of relief after it was announced on Selection Sunday that the team had officially made the NCAA tournament. However, something the team may not be relieved about in regards to the tournament is having to face defending national champion Denver in the first round of the Midwest Regional. Now, flashback to last year's tournament, and in the regional finals, Penn State actually fell to Denver 6-3, which, yes, not too terrible to fall to the team that would go on and eventually win the championship, but still, this year's rematch will be a game of revenge for the Nittany Lions, who, Christian, will be looking for that victory against Denver.
Yeah, what a time it is for that hockey team, a program that's just been a Division I program since 2010.
Crazy, only 8 years. And speaking of crazy, Christian, what's going on with Penn State men's basketball in the NIT tournament and in the NIT tournament run so far?
Well, Pat Chambers' squad became the first team to register a road win in the 2018 NIT as they took down the Notre Dame Fighting Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Defense was the name of the game for the Nittany Lions as they forced Notre Dame into 12 turnovers and capitalized those into 19 points. Tony Carr led the way offensively with 24 points, and junior forward Josh Reeves barely missed a double-double with 18 points and 9 assists. Up next, the NIT quarterfinals when the Nittany Lions hit the road, take on number 2 Marquette. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Tuesday on ESPN, so don't miss a chance to watch Penn State fight to play another game this season.
And while two Penn State teams in men's hockey and men's basketball are still on their journeys to becoming champions, one Penn State team already completed their journey to the top this past weekend. Penn State Wrestling was crowned NCAA champions, capturing their 7th NCAA wrestling title in 8 years. And Christian, the ending of this matchup between Nickel and Martin was absolutely incredible. Nickel was on his way down after Martin had executed a double leg takedown on him, but while falling back, Nickel was able to trap Martin's head between his arms and use both momentum and kind of his hips to flip Martin over, pin him on his back, and secure both the individual title and team title as well. And Christian, it was absolutely amazing to see everyone's reaction when that happened. I mean, the crowd absolutely ecstatic. Bo, absolutely ecstatic, and the coaches were just, energy was so high there at Quick Loans Arena in Cleveland after that.
Yeah, Kale's doing a great job with that program. It's an absolute dynasty. And that's going to do it for us, but don't go anywhere as there's more madness on the way. DJ Bauer, Dylan Huberman, and Hunter Pitkoff are coming up next with some March Madness breakdown.
And welcome back here to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Dylan Huberman here with Hunter Pitkoff and DJ Bauer. We are going to talk some March Madness, some college basketball. And guys, let's begin with the Michigan Wolverines. What do they have to do to keep going in this tournament?
I definitely think one thing they got to do is get Mo Wagner the ball more. He only had 15 shots in the first 2 games. He's the leading scorer on this team. I think he needs to get shots all over the court, from the post and from the three-point line. Also, just in general, they're going to be facing Texas A&M in the Sweet 16. They're giving up a lot of size. So you got to stretch the floor, take care of the ball, and that's the formula that Michigan has used to get this far. And if they keep doing it, then I think they'll, maybe have a Final Four chance.
I think the real big problem is the offense. Now, this is a team that a lot of people had in the Final Four and even winning the championship, and we haven't seen the same offensive fire that they had in the Big Ten tournament. They had struggles against Montana. They had to rely on a buzzer beater to beat Houston. So I think there are 2 keys to success here for Michigan. Fix the offense and get scoring. They scored 75 points in every one of the Big Ten tournament games where they were on fire, and they have yet to score 65 yet in the NCAA tournament. So if they can get the ball into the hoop more, that's going to help them. And they have to make sure not to underestimate the opposition. Now, they lucked out because they're not going to have to play North Carolina in the next round, but Texas A&M still beat them by 21. That's a worthy challenge. So keep their head in the game, get the ball in the hoop, and Michigan can go far.
I agree with you on that one. So let's talk now about Loyola of Chicago with Sister Jean leading the charge for them, and the Nevada Wolfpack that came back from way down against the Cincinnati Bearcats this past weekend. Guys, what do you make from this? How far can they go in this tournament?
Yeah, in that matchup, since they both will be playing, I'm going with Nevada. I think Loyola is going to turn to the Scramblers, although they're known as the Ramblers, just for the sole fact that there's so many people, so many players on Nevada who can put the ball in the basket. Like Martin Brothers, you got Stevens, Caroline. I think that it's going to be a very up-tempo pace, which is not good for Loyola, and I think that Nevada will advance to Elite Eight.
Now, these two teams are obviously huge underdogs. Just want to say, I had Loyola in the Sweet 16. I think the winner of this game, though, can absolutely make a Final Four run. I think people are kind of counting them out a little bit, but I really like both of these teams. Obviously, Loyola has won their games from buzzer beaters, and Nevada has had crazy comebacks against Texas and Cincinnati. But I think the winner, maybe they can keep the magic going against Kentucky or Kansas State. Ultimately, it's not going to be likely that I think these teams make it to the Final Four, but hey, it's March. Anything can happen.
I agree, and I am with you. I'm on the Clayton Custer train. I had them in the Sweet 16 as well. Now, moving on to the Purdue Boilermakers. They're down Isaac Haas, shattered his elbow in a tragic rebound that did not go his way in the first round. Can they continue to move forward, or is this the end of the line?
It is a huge blow, literally, because Isaac Haas he's such a big presence down low, rebounding, blocking shots, and obviously scoring in the post. However, though, Carson Edwards, they got Vincent Edwards, Dakota Mathias, they got shooters, they have a perimeter game. It's not the end of the world. They know how to play without injury, but it is definitely going to be a huge task. Harms needs to step up tremendously. He's only a freshman, but this is going to be some of the biggest minutes he'll ever have to play in college.
I like to think that Butler was a test run for Purdue, and they got by them, but just barely. Now, Texas Tech is going to be a much bigger challenge for Purdue, but I do think that they have some signs of success. They've shot 50% from three. That's hard to do, and they've done it. They've won the rebound battle in both games, which we know has been a problem for Purdue all season. And the loss of Isaac Haas definitely hurts a lot. But as you mentioned, they have Matt Harms, another big man, 7'3". Not nearly as experienced as Isaac Haas, but he's still a worthy replacement for the time being. So I do like their odds. I think they can make a Final Four run.
I think they can get past a scrappy team such as Texas Tech where they rely on their athleticism, but I think Harms is a much thinner prospect. Haas is a much bigger guy. I think they're going to feel the burn. They're going to bow out to Villanova before they can make it to the Final Four. Moving on, let's talk Kentucky Wildcats. Personally, I see a lot of resemblance between Kevin Knox and Julius Randle's team that went all the way to the championship and lost to UConn. I think this team has the potential. Guys, what do you got?
Yeah, like you said before, that was one of Calipari's best coaching in terms of the talent in the youth, and I think this year also the same thing. Now, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player on this team. The offense starts through him. He can score, and he's gone off in some of these first couple games, too. Kevin Knox, also a great player. He can play 3-4, and he can score anywhere on the court. I think Kentucky's very dangerous, and if they can get back to the finals, I actually give them a chance of playing the best basketball this season at this time.
Now, obviously, I know any Kentucky team coached by John Calipari has the chance to go to the finals. But what I'm hearing is people are saying that Kentucky has the easiest path to the Final Four of any team. I don't buy it. They struggled more than it seems, I think. They could not close against Davidson. Davidson just kept hanging around at the end of the game. Comeback couldn't quite do it, but kind of a killer there for Kentucky. And Buffalo, they couldn't close the door on them until there were 5 minutes left. So I don't think this team is impressive as they look. K-State isn't a great team. They struggled against UMBC, but definitely don't underestimate them, that's for sure. And if they win in the Elite Eight, they have a good chance to get to the Final Four, but like I said, I like Loyola Chicago, I like Nevada. I don't think it's an easy path for Kentucky. I think that they're going to have struggles along the way in trying to get to the Final Four.
I agree. If March has shown us anything, it's that no one is safe. So saying something is the easiest path to get there may not be the smartest thing. But now let's move on to the big moment we've all been waiting for. Guys, give me your Final Four.
I picked Duke and Villanova to start the bracket, so I'm going to stick with them. They both played very good. I still think Kentucky's going to get there with that length, that defense and athleticism. And I'm going with the Zags, too. They got the experience. They lost to UNC last year in the championship game. I think they got some bad taste in their mouth from the loss, and I think they're going to try getting back.
Two of my Final Four picks are still alive with Purdue and Gonzaga, so I'm going to stick with them, too. As for the other two, I'm going to go a little crazy. I'm going to pick the Ramblers. I really like Loyola Chicago. Sister Jean, bring the magic. Take them to the Final Four for the first time since 1963. And I'm going to pick Clemson for the other one. They have looked very impressive lately. I thought that they were going to bow out in the first round to New Mexico State. They beat the Aggies well, and then they destroyed Auburn in the round of 32. They're going to give Kansas a challenge, and if they can beat past them, they're going to give Syracuse or Duke a challenge. So I do think Clemson has very good odds for the Final Four.
I'm going to say that Kentucky gets deep enough to get there. I'm going to say that Michigan makes it there. I'm going to say Villanova makes it there, and then Duke makes it there, with Duke finishing over Michigan in the final, considering my Florida Gators are no longer chomping, unfortunately. But now we're going to send it over to some Champions League soccer talk with Chris and Jordan. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Chris Keating, and I'm joined by Jordan Lewis. The UEFA Champions League quarterfinals draw took place this past Friday, and we have some mouth-watering matchups. And now we're here to predict the Elite Eight. So, Jordan, first matchup, FC Barcelona, AS Roma. Who do you like and why?
This one's a little bit of a no-brainer for me. I'm going to have to go with Barcelona here. They have an 11-point lead atop of the La Liga, and Valverde's come to the side and done a great job with the squad. Barca's playing their football they've always been playing, and they can really focus all their energy towards this tie. And with the difference of the quality of players here, I would have to give it to Barcelona, and they look to be the favorite over these two legs.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. Barcelona, I think, will easily take this one. Roma might nick a goal, but over two legs, Barcelona is going to prove to be way too strong. Now, Sevilla FC Bayern, a weak matchup for Bayern. Sevilla did get past Manchester United last week at Old Trafford in an upset fashion, but can they produce that magic again, two legs in a row?
Similar to the Barcelona tie, I'm gonna have to go with the Giants here, the heavy favorites, Bayern Munich. Again, we're looking at the quality of the two teams, and Bayern are the heavy favorites. Sevilla, they've shown their prowess in the Europa League, winning 3 out of the last 4 times, but on the end of the day, Bayern Munich, especially with the second leg home advantage, they're gonna get the job done easily.
Yeah, I'm probably going to agree with you on that one. I could honestly see the score after two legs being around 8-1, something kind of ridiculous like that. Now, Juventus and Real Madrid is an interesting quarterfinals matchup. This is a rematch of the last year's Champions League final. We know that Real Madrid owned this competition, claiming 12 titles in their past. But Juve could potentially be on upset alert here for Real Madrid. So what do you think about this one?
This one's definitely more difficult to predict, but Real Madrid, they're really owning this competition. They're going for the three-peat here, and Juventus, they haven't been at their best. They look a little shaky against Tottenham, and Napoli's surprisingly taking over the Serie A. So I'd have to give it to Real Madrid here. They have the second leg home advantage, and with Ronaldo being in form, 21 goals in his last 13 games, I feel like at the end of the day, he's really going to do the damage against the old lady.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Real Madrid and Ronaldo and company is going to be way too much for Juve to handle over two legs. Now, probably our most anticipated matchup of the quarterfinals, two English teams going head-to-head, Liverpool and Manchester City, probably the two best attacking teams in Europe.
Yeah, this one, it's definitely the closest to call and could really go either way. Liverpool handed Manchester City their first league defeat of the season in the Premier League, and really their only defeat of the season with the full-strength squad. So for Man City fans, you got to be a little bit nervous going to Anfield, especially with the track record they have there. But between the two ties, I'd have to go with City here. They have the second leg home advantage, just like Real and Bayern do, and I think Liverpool's defense is going to have to be top solid to prevent City's attackers from scoring, and I just don't see that happening over two legs.
I'm going to disagree with you. I do think that Liverpool with the attack of Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino, and Sadio Mane, and Jurgen Klopp's tactics, over two legs gets the job done. So that is all for our coverage of the UEFA Champions League. Now over to Summer Thomas with some NFL analysis.
Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Summer Thomas alongside Dylan Huberman and Jeremy Gaines. So March 14th marked the start of the NFL free agency and the end of the offseason, and a lot has happened since then. So the Browns have been especially active, and they've picked up Tyrod Taylor, Jarvis Landry, Demarius Randall, and Carlos Hyde. So what do you guys think of the Browns free agency so far, and what does it do for their needs for the team?
Well, they've obviously made some really great pickups. Tyrod Taylor is not a long-term solution at quarterback, he's a short-term solution. But what it does give them is time to develop the quarterback that they will take either with that first or fourth pick, probably first. Jarvis Landry is the #1 receiver now for them, and that they have a tandem now with Josh Gordon, who has gotten his way back in the league and in limited action last year, coming off the suspension, looked pretty impressive, kind of like his old self. So, they have some targets for whoever is playing quarterback, whether it be Taylor early on in the season or possibly the rookie quarterback late in the season. So their offense can look really dangerous.
To me, the pieces are there. I see Tyrod Taylor as more of a bridge solution than I do a long-term answer. But I will say that Jarvis Landry is an elite receiver in the short to intermediate game, which is where Tyrod Taylor excels. Now, as far as Demarius Randall, the acquisition that they gave for now backup quarterback, or what would have been backup quarterback, Deshaun Kaiser, was a big win. And the signing of Carlos Hyde meant a lot because pairing him with Duke Johnson may have signaled that Saquon Barkley will not be going first overall. So there are a lot of questions heading into draft night for the Cleveland Browns now.
Yeah, and the Jets have also been very active during free agency. They traded up for the 3rd pick, and they gave the Colts their 6th pick. So what do you think this means for who they're going to pick, and does it make sense for the Jets?
Well, let me put it this way. You don't trade away 3 second-round picks to not take a quarterback. When you trade up, you have a guy in mind that you really want. At least the Jets should when they're giving up that much draft capital, because now they're low on draft capital. And that's a team with a lot of different draft needs, not just quarterback. So, you're looking for a guy that you're really going to like. Personally, I think it's Josh Rosen, who, out of all the guys, is considered the most NFL ready, most polished, but not as high a ceiling as Sam Darnold or Josh Allen. Josh Allen is also in play for them there, but the problem with him is that he's a 56% percentage completion rate quarterback in college. And history tells us that inaccurate college quarterbacks don't suddenly become accurate in the pros. It's just usually too hard to fix the mechanics that are already that broken for guys like that. He's a good prospect, but I think Rosen is a better pick for the Jets, who really need to get this right.
See,
That's for sure.
I think of this as the Colts won this trade big time. They traded back 3 spots, got 3 second-round picks, and are still going to get the same guy, defensive end Bradley Chubb, that they are targeting at number 3. So to me, the Colts dominated this trade, added a lot of draft capital, and if the Jets already weren't against the wall, general manager Mike McCagnon is going to be cleaning out his locker if he picks the wrong quarterback here. So to me, if you don't get Sam Darnold, who I think is the clear-cut quarterback in this year's draft, this is a bust trade. I don't think that Josh Rosen is the next coming. I think they've traded up too far to go select Baker Mayfield now. You could have pulled it off at 6. I don't think you can pull it off at 3. And also, the biggest question is reports are surfacing that the Giants may consider trading their pick down with a team like the Buffalo Bills, who are also needy at quarterback. So this whole trade thing that the Jets just did and threw a lot of investment in may all be for naught if their quarterback of the future isn't on the board.
Yeah, well, you may see the Giants decide that they don't want a quarterback and they're willing to sit with Eli for another year or two and maybe draft a quarterback next year and just see how Eli plays, for another year. And they may not want Saquon just because they're not willing to take a running back that high. If the Bills jump in, they have a lot of draft capital to do it. The 12th pick currently and the 22nd pick in the first round, they can easily do it and jump the Jets, and that could become a disaster, especially if the Bills end up taking the guy that the Jets want, because they've already given up so much just to move up to 3.
And on the subject of who wins, you definitely have to consider what the Jets gave up to get that 3rd pick. They only gave up 3 second-rounders, I believe, 2 this year, 1 next year. And if you look at the Jets' history of drafting second-rounders, it's not very good. So when you think about it, they pretty much are getting their franchise quarterback for not very much, giving the Colts. So if you think about it like that, maybe the Jets won the trade.
Well,
but
my issue with that would be the Colts are in dire need of a running back, and this draft class is very thick on running backs. There's a chance you can get Sony Michel, Ronald Jones, or Nick Chubb in the 2nd round, and you just arm the Colts with 3 separate opportunities to do that, potentially get another receiver or even a defender now to add on to the pick of Bradley Chubb should he be available. So to me, you just gave the Colts 3 extra picks and the guy they already wanted. So I don't see how the Colts could possibly have anything to lose out of that deal.
Yeah, now let's briefly touch on some of the winners and losers so far in free agency. So some teams have spent, big money on specific players that they've been searching for, and then others haven't been so active and they haven't really spent very much. So which team do you guys think has won free agency so far?
For me, it's the Vikings, and really the reasoning that Kirk Cousins picked them explains why. The Vikings really, other than really defensive line, what did they really need to fix besides quarterback? Nothing. So, Cousins basically completes the puzzle for them. So the Vikings are pretty much ready to go for another Super Bowl run or playoff run.
To me, I look at the Los Angeles Rams and acquiring Marcus Peters and acquiring Aqib Talib, and they're also looking at acquiring Ndamukong Suh, which would be a humongous blockbuster deal for them. I think that the Rams have just put an exclamation point on an already good campaign last year.
All right, now what about the losers? So which team do you guys both think has lost? free agency?
The Patriots, and it's a typical free agent year for the Patriots. They lose a bunch of key guys, and we all know how that system works with them. They make guys fit in a certain way, and then once they get rid of them, they're just done with them. So, usually we think, okay, well, they'll be fine because that's what they usually do. But they lost some key guys like Dion Lewis and Nate Soldier. So, this may be a year where those losses end up hurting them. They also lost players at cornerback and Malcolm Butler. So in the Super Bowl, the pass defense was awful. So that especially end up being a huge loss. So Patriots definitely losers here.
To me, the big loser has to be the Seattle Seahawks. You lost tight end Jimmy Graham, who has proven to be a dominant red zone threat, one of the best tight ends in the league. You also lost Richard Sherman, a cornerstone of the Legion of Boom, which has clearly fallen off. That team is headed for a downward spiral. They're going to have to hope to build through the draft in future years, which I don't think is going to happen for a while.
All right, so that's all from the NFL for this week. And next, Ellie and Christian are going to close the show.
Thanks, Summer. And Christian, before we say goodbye, what is happening in the world of Penn State sports this week that you're looking forward to?
Well, we might be seeing for the very last time that fun Penn State basketball team playing quarterfinals of the NIT tournament Tuesday night. So it could be the last time we see that team play. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, especially after that win after Notre Dame. Going to see what's happening next for the team.
Yeah, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to Pro Day tomorrow, actually, for Penn State football. 21 participants in that, including all 8 Nittany Lions that were sent to the Combine back in February. And actually, Kristen, you and I will be out there with coverage on that, so stay tuned for that.
And that's going to do it for us. So stay updated with all that amazing coverage coming your way. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on Twitter at PSSN. For the entire Penn State Sports Night crew, I'm Christian Kirkpakas.
And I'm Ellie French. We'll see you guys next time.